Longhorn Nation showed up. Longhorn Nation has been obviously itching for this, and just to be there to be present and celebrate the championship was one thing, and then to wake up the next morning and find out, oh wait, we're in. We're in, Rod.
Oh yeah, I mean, because I do believe the way they won in the impressive and dominant fashion that they beat Oklahoma State and they beat Texas Tech. I do think it mattered. Would they have made it in if they had just barely won those games, or those games were a little bit tighter? They still could have probably made it in. But I think it would have made the committee's job a whole lot tougher. I think the committee's job was easy. Like you said, the narrative shifted so dramatically where the conversation wasn't about Texas anymore. It was about, is it going to be Bama or Florida State? Because everybody was like, oh, Texas is in.
Yeah, well, once Texas won their game, and then Bama beat Georgia, Texas had to be in. You couldn't do one without the other.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it was like, no, Texas is going to be in. Now, the question is, are we going to leave out the SEC out of this thing and go with the very deserving Florida State? Or are we going to go with the better product and a team that's getting better every week, which is Alabama, proving that, obviously, by beating Georgia SEC title game. And whether we got, so that, like you said, Texas did that. All right, but because Texas, they didn't like the conversation, so they changed it. They beat Oklahoma State so badly and dominated them to the extent where the nation watched. And think, this is the first time that the College Football Playoff Committee watched in a room together. They were actually in a room physically together.
Talking as it happened.
Yes, usually they remotely do it, right? They're watching online on iPads and stuff like that. These old cronies are watching on iPads, stuff like that. And then they have to either text with each other or they can talk remotely. That's not the same as watching in a room together and going, guys, are y'all watching Texas right now? They are just whipping Oklahoma State, just whipping them. And Quinn Ewers. I mean, his performance, right? You're talking about the juxtaposition of Florida State, who with a third-string quarterback, and then watching Texas with Quinn Ewers out there having his best game ever as a quarterback. So I just think, I give Texas all the props. I don't know. I'm sure Sark's not going to admit that was top of mind for him.
Yeah.
But it
well,
mattered.
I mean, it was total package. I mean, the game plan was on point. I mean, they took advantage of a team they were much more talented than, obviously, in Oklahoma State. But that was a 9-3 team that won 7 of 8 and beat Oklahoma. So they can play some ball, and they just dismantled them. I mean, the explosive play rate was ridiculous. I mean, there was a point in the first half where Texas had not only had Quinn Ewers hit 9 different receivers, 6 different players had an explosive play before halftime. And Tavondre Sweat caught a touchdown pass. I mean, I don't even know what else to say. I mean, it was Sark at his best with the game plan. And as you've talked about all year, Rod, and I know we'll do this more behind the burnt orange curtain,
yes,
but
we will.
Making him a one-read quarterback makes him when he can lock in. He's got to work on that, right, and become a more ability to come through the progressions. But Sark has figured that out and is dialing up plays that get him that first progression typically. And man, he is as good as there is in the country when he can put his foot in the ground and hit A.D. Mitchell on a slant route or
when he knows where he's going with the football. Man. I don't know if there's a quarterback in the country that can throw it better. I'm serious. I mean,
Penix is close, maybe.
There was Penix is close. Caleb Wood. I'm talking about when he knows exactly where he's going. I'm talking about accuracy and ball placement and touch and all of it combined.
It's good.
It is. Woo! It's impressive.
Yeah, it really is. And that's his next, developmental phase will be that next phase, right, where you can go, okay, that's not there. I'm going here, and keep the footwork right, and not, keep his head up and all those things. Don't see the pressure. Real quick, we'll go behind the burnt orange curtain. Rod will break down the big win in Texas, but let's hear Boo Corrigan yesterday. Of course, this is the big controversy. Boo, let's remember this. Boo Corrigan, the committee chairman of the 13-person College Football Playoff Committee. Boo. He is NC State's athletic director, so he's in the ACC, right? This is not like an SEC commissioner. He is the ACC representative on this committee. And here is Boo Corrigan explaining to Florida State why Bama is in and why the Seminoles at 13-0 are out.
Florida State is a different team than they were through the first 11 weeks. Coach Norvell, their players, their fans, an incredible season. But as you look at who they are as a team right now, without Jordan Travis, without the offensive dynamic that he brings to it, they are a different team. And the committee voted Alabama 4 and Florida State 5.
All right, so there's Boo Corrigan. Can we play Ree Davis? Listen to this, Rod. This is Ree Davis with the reaction of Florida State. This was heartbreaking to see yesterday. And you can, as a former player, Rod, put yourself in those shoes. You've done everything you can. You're 13-0. You can't control your quarterback's hurt. You just found a way to win your conference title game on a kind of rainy night in Charlotte by 10 points. with a backup quarterback because your defense played great. Let's hear Ree Davis. This is when it was announced that Florida State will not be among the 4 teams in the playoff.
Heartbroken, devastated, and I'm sure there is a lot of anger in Tallahassee as a result of this. Just a terribly unfortunate set of circumstances. They left Mike Norvell, who has done a fabulous job at Florida State, put the Seminoles in position, and now will be a challenge of leadership.
All right, challenge of leadership. Can I play one cut for you, Rod? Then I want your thoughts. Let's play Booger McFarland. He was the most adamant and passionate on the ESPN stage yesterday. The former LSU, he's an SEC guy himself, formerly on Monday Night Football. Here's Booger McFarland with his immediate thought to what the decision that was made.
This is a travesty to the sport because we go out there on the field and we play the game. And regardless of whether it looks good at the quarterback position, regardless of whether we win with offense, whether we win with defense, the name of the game is to win. And that's a reason never before has this not been done. Winning a Power 5 conference, going undefeated, and not getting into the playoff. So I understand we want to look at style points and who are we going to get for the best matchups. But that's not what this is about. This is about understanding to get the 4 best teams. One team has a loss, and that's Alabama. One team doesn't in Florida State. And the fact that this committee could take a Power 5 conference champion that's undefeated, those kids have went out there and busted their behind and not get into the playoff based on the eye test. Mind you, this is the same Alabama team who needed a prayer in Jordan Hare to beat an Auburn team that lost to New Mexico State. So that's really what has me bothered.
All right, Booger passionate.
Yeah, man.
By the way, I don't think it was lost on most people that about an hour later on that said Robert Griffin III actually replaced Booger McFarland. He was gone.
Like, Booger, you did speak the truth, but when keeping it real goes wrong.
You know, we are the SEC network starting next year.
You want to keep it real? Okay.
Yeah, we know we are the SEC network.
I think I think everything he said was true. I think it's apropos. I do think it is the end of an era in college football. The end of amateurism is officially dead, or at least now there'll be a different definition of it. And now we know that with the transfer portal, with NIL, with obviously we've watched conference realignment and all this happen, right? And the focus is around what? Money. Straight
Money.
cash, homie.
Well, it should have.
And so he's right. In a sense, it's just symbolic because it is about getting the best matchup so we can get the best ratings, so we can get the most money.
Right. And again, I mentioned the Niners-Eagles game and the quarterback being in an important position. What ESPN doesn't want, and they spend a lot of money for it, is the TCU-Georgia game again.
A dud.
I mean, and how many of the semifinal? I mean, last year's semifinal games were phenomenal, but a lot of times they are mismatches. And you know, is that a reality of the situation? I'll say this: we'll hear the other side too. We'll hear other people speaking passionately on it. We'll certainly talk Texas and go behind the burnt orange curtain. The AD for Florida State waited a little while and then put out a very strongly worded statement where he said the consequences of giving it into a narrative of the moment are destructive, far-reaching, and permanent. Mike Alfred said, not just for Florida State, but college football as a whole. The argument of whether a team is most deserving or best is a false equivalence. It renders the season up to yesterday irrelevant and significantly damages the legitimacy of the college football playoff. And they did beat 2 SEC teams this year, Florida State.
No, honestly, if the quarterback had gotten hurt just a little bit earlier, and then they could have kind of fudged the timeline about when he could be back in the college football playoff, even that could have helped him. The truth is, all those statements are right, and those opinions, honestly, they are valid. The truth is, we're in a different era where the ratings matter, and they want to sell quarterbacks. Think about it, how when they have the commercials for the college football playoff. What position do you see most of the time them
Quinn
showing?
Ewers, Michael Penix, Jalen Milroe, J.J. McCarthy. Yeah,
I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, it's moving, and the real final knife in the back for Florida State is that this wouldn't happen next year. Next year they'd be in. Next year everybody would be in.
Oh yeah,
there'd be 12 teams in.
Right.
The Longhorns would be off this week or in the first round, but very, very unfortunate in all phases. We'll hear the other side too. There's those arguing strongly for Alabama, and as Rod and I both said off the top, that I think both things can be true. It can be a shame and make your stomach turn. Same time, it was going to happen to somebody. And did they get the best matchup becomes the question.